A Lee County family is waiting for answers after their loved ones are unaccounted for following a fire early this morning.
An Eastern Kentucky lawyer finds himself in court facing federal charges. He defrauded federal disability benefits programs.
Another Wildcat says he's going pro. More on Skal Labissiere's decision to enter the NBA draft.
This is WKYT News at 5.
Good afternoon to you. 3 people are still missing after an early morning fire.
The fire destroyed an apartment building on Golf Course Road in Lee County, leaving nearly a dozen people homeless. And as you can see in this video shot from Sky First, there's not much left of the building other than some exterior walls there. Our Victor Puente's at the scene, tracking the search for the missing people. It's our top story at 5.
Firefighters tell me these apartments were already collapsing when they arrived. That kept them from getting inside the structure to try to fight this fire. The call went out around 4:30 this morning of a fire at a home on Golf Course Road. It had been converted into several apartments, and the flames were shooting through the roof when firefighters arrived.
When we got here upon arrival, the rear of the house was consumed in flames all the way across the back, and the part of the roof was starting to collapse.
That kept crews from going into the building. They did what they could from outside, but it would be more than 2 hours before the fire was out. Even then, they had to wait for the rubble to cool before they could begin an investigation.
I think there was approximately 13 people in the house all total.
Yes.
3 of them are unaccounted for at this time.
The landlord says those people are a woman who lived upstairs and a couple who lived on the bottom level. Friends of that couple say she is 14 weeks pregnant and their family is just looking for answers. State police are leading the search to see if those people were inside. Neighbors say those flames were massive, sending embers across the neighborhood and onto a nearby roof that also had to be put out.
If the wind had been blowing like it normally does out of the southwest, the other house here would have definitely been on fire. It was a huge fire, big fire.
The names of those 3 people haven't been released as the investigation is still underway. In Lee County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
And the Red Cross is working with the people who lost their homes to help them find a place to stay for the next few days.
He is familiar with a courtroom, but today a Floyd County lawyer found himself as the defendant. Eric Kahn appeared in federal court in Lexington on charges he defrauded federal disability benefits programs. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy is live outside the courthouse with more on the hearing. Kristen?
Amber, Eric Kahn and Alfred Adkins walked into the courtroom with their hands and their ankles in cuffs. Only Adkins walked out on bond today. Kahn remains in custody. The arraignment took about an hour today. The judge read out to them all 18 counts. Adkins faces 4 of the 18. The federal indictment issued Friday and unsealed just this morning claims Kahn, Adkins, and a Social Security judge named David Daugherty created an elaborate scheme to get money from the Social Security Administration for Kahn's clients. Court papers show Kahn filed more than 2,000 disability claims between 2004 and 2013, and that Daugherty would search for Kahn's claims to make sure he could approve them. The paperwork also claims Adkins would work with Kahn's clients and label them as disabled, even if they weren't. The indictment says the Social Security Administration gave Kahn's clients more than $600 million. An attorney representing 2 of the whistleblowers in the case says if the government had listened to his clients several years ago, they may not be dealing with this case right now.
I mean, they reported this to the Office of Inspector General, Social Security Administration, and begged them to do something with it when they first started seeing the conduct taking place. And so I think last night was a sense of relief for them.
David Daugherty was not part of the hearing today. There is an arrest warrant out for him. Live in Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Kristen, thank you. Both Kahn and Adkins were arrested last night. Another Wildcat says he is going to the NBA.
UK announcing that Skal Labissiere's decision this afternoon. He is the second Wildcat to make it official. Our Rob Bromley's here now with more on Skal's decision.
All right, it is as simple Is this. Scal is projected to be a first-round draft pick, in some cases a lottery pick. He said today he's going into the draft. He will hire an agent. That'll end his career at UK. The 6'11" Haitian struggled throughout the season, also came on, showed flashes of potential. His name slipped in mock drafts, but overall, Sam and Amber, his draft stock still remains high. Scal is number 10 in Draft Express, and NBADraft.com has him at number 14. That is just outside the lottery.
Rob, thank you. Jamal Murray declared for the draft last week. The NBA draft will be held June 23rd in New York.
Mayor Jim Gray shared his budget proposal with the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council this afternoon. This year's budget includes a surplus and a focus on safety. WKYT's Garrett Weimer shows us Mayor Gray's plans for spending the city's money.
The mayor says his budget shifts back to what he calls fundamental blocks, including public safety, economic development, and quality of life.
$3 million in state road funds.
At his budget address to council, Mayor Gray said the revenue projection for 2017 is $345 million, up from the current budget. He says the city will also have a $6 million surplus to work with from this year, which they'll use for fire and police needs. Much of the mayor's budget address focused on public safety, workforce development, paving roads and putting down sidewalks, and improvements and additions for parks.
We have worked together to build this great city, block by block by block, reaching up and lifting up and stretching to grab the brass ring for our city. We've demonstrated that together we can make a difference. Together, we can make good things happen.
The mayor says 54% of his budget proposal goes to public safety. That includes hiring 20 new police officers and implementing the use of body cameras. I'll have more on that coming up at 6. In Lexington, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
The mayor's proposal includes just under $48 million in bonding. That includes $10 million in bonds for the convention center project.
The Attorney General will review the audit of a former sheriff and his office. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Jackson County. The state auditor says an audit of former Sheriff Denny Payman's tax settlement found he did not maintain good records of tax revenues and expenditures from April to December of 2014. An audit of his office found a long list of problems, including that Payman did not manage the financial activities of his office. According to the auditor, he received no response from Payman. In Madison County, a drug overdose leads to 2 arrests. Richmond police say they arrested John Kuhn and Stephanie Chamberlain after Kuhn overdosed in a hotel room. Police tell us the pair had guns, drugs, and drug paraphernalia in the room and in a car in the parking lot. Both are charged with drug trafficking. Chamberlain is also charged with identity theft for giving police a fake name.
We are experiencing a cool down today, and it is not over yet. Even cooler weather is on the way later this week. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here with an early check of the forecast. Maybe I should say colder weather.
Yeah, we're going to get cold by the time we hit the weekend, especially. Some folks would argue that today was on the cold side, with temperatures only in the 40s after yet another hard freeze for many of us this morning. Tomorrow morning, especially those valleys of eastern Kentucky, hard freeze again. Clean skies over top of us right now. Hamburg Pavilion in the distance, Winchester Road, bottom of your screen. Nothing going on for travelers out there outside of maybe a little sun glare. 47 degrees right now in Lexington. Normal highs are into the 60s. We are stuck in the 40s today, even with full sunshine. That is very hard to do at this time of year. Humidity, it is bone dry yet again. Most of central and eastern Kentucky, mid and upper 40s now. Little pocket of some 50s showing up into southern Kentucky. Good for you folks. You're still below normal, though. Out and about this evening, as soon as the sun sets, look out. Dry air, clear skies over top of us. Temperatures drop into the low 30s by 11 o'clock. Could even be a kiss of frost already showing up by 11 with a hard freeze in the valleys of eastern Kentucky possible yet again tonight. Defender Radar Network, it's calm, it's clear. Tomorrow at this time, this big storm system across the Plain States will be right on top of the Bluegrass State with showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds all breaking out for your Wednesday. Guys, when I come back in a matter of minutes, we will track that busy Wednesday forecast and also take a little sneak peek tour at a taste of winter by the weekend.
Chris, thank you. Voters in Wisconsin hold some serious power at the polls today.
If Donald Trump does not win, it's unlikely he will get enough delegates to secure the nomination before the Republican convention in July. Craig Boswell shows us what Trump's doing to try to close the deal.
Donald Trump is pushing for last-minute votes in Wisconsin, where he's hoping for a come-from-behind victory.
We could have a big surprise tonight, folks.
Trump is trailing Ted Cruz in Wisconsin, and a loss could make it more difficult for him to reach the 1,237 delegates needed to clinch the nomination.
I've never had a bad cheese.
Meanwhile, Ted Cruz is milking his chances that Wisconsin will add to his winning streak.
That'll be 4 states in a row where Donald Trump has gotten whooped.
On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is upbeat about his lead over Hillary Clinton in Wisconsin, particularly with reports of long lines at polls. Clinton has spent most of the last week campaigning in New York, which votes in 2 weeks. Today, she paused to talk to the ladies on The View. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Hillary Clinton has a 10-point lead in New York, according to the latest CBS News Battleground Tracker poll. She and Sanders will hold a debate there a week from Thursday. A second Republican senator met with the president's Supreme Court nominee today. What she's saying after that meeting.
Why it might actually be better to leave a little grime on your dirty dishes. The reason in Better Living.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
It's a cold day by April standards across the Bluegrass State. Looks good out there. Then you step outside and realize temperatures are only into the 40s across most areas. We should be in the 60s right now, and adding a little to that with each and every passing day. Winds are coming out of the northeast right now. You see that on the wind barbs that are on there underneath the temperatures. A little milder in southern Kentucky, but none of the numbers you see here are even close to where we should be for this time of year. Temperatures are way, way colder than what we should be dealing with across the region. Upstream, temperatures get even colder just beyond this, but I want to focus on that 61 in Columbia, that 56 here into St. Louis, and near 60 into Paducah. Why? Because we're going to get in on a surge of that end of the day tomorrow before we unleash some additional cold air later this week into the coming weekend. So this overall cold pattern continues toward the weekend with even a taste of winter. And oh yeah, tomorrow kind of overlooking showers and thunderstorms that develop into the afternoon. That shows up on your hour-by-hour, 24-hour planner. 30s in the morning, quick jump though into the mid-60s tomorrow afternoon. And just for good measure, we're going to give you another windy day with those gusts that may approach 40 to 45 miles per hour at times. Then we end it with some showers and storms. Nothing on your Defender Radar Network. Let's fast forward into tomorrow at this time. Southerly wind flow, it is mild. Chances are we are tracking showers and storms across the region. That front through Thursday will make its way to the east. Wrap around chilly air coming in behind that. We may struggle to get to 50 on Thursday with some leftover showers. Next system. Next, here we go into Thursday night, Friday morning. That will have even colder air, and it's possible by Friday morning for a little rain or snow shower action, but it's the system that dives in behind that late Friday into Saturday morning that may have some snow flurries, if not a passing snow shower or two. Let's not break out any kind of snow shovels, not even talking about anything like that, but this is Arctic cold air that is coming in behind that. If you were to get this same air mass into the heart of wintertime around here, it would likely send our temperatures below zero. That's how cold this area is. Now, you got to keep it in perspective. It is April, so we measure everything in relation to normal. Normal highs are 60s. We go through the next few days. Tomorrow, 60s before showers and storms dig into town. And by the time we roll into tomorrow night and Thursday, that colder air is right on top of the region. Pushing 50 if we're lucky on Thursday. Friday, Keeneland, spring meet. More like the winter meet with a chance for a rain or snow shower. Gusty winds in low 40s. Saturday, I think, has the best chance, guys, for some snow flurries, if not a snow shower. 25 in the morning, 40 in the afternoon, 21 degrees Sunday morning. Could be record material if we can get there.
Ooh, opening day of Keeneland. I mean, you really need some
right.
Not just a sweater or a jacket.
It's not going to be exactly like what we had back in 2007 when they had an inch of snow on that day one of the spring meet out there. But it's still not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah. All right. Get some hot chocolate and warm up.
There you go. It's Keeneland. You'll have fun.
Yeah. Thanks.
Police are working a crash at Nicholasville and Edgemore. There's also one at Old Frankfort and Enterprise. They're both non-injury collisions. They're on the scene there right now. We cleared the one problem we had on Tate's Creek, but now they reported of a crash on Athens Boonesboro just down from I-75. Just to give you the heads up there, that appears to be an injury collision. Drive times this afternoon, Paris Pike looks good, and it looks like the Winchester on 64, no problems or delays so far. Now back to the studio.
Iceland's prime minister resigned today, the role the Panama Papers played in his decision to step down.
An accident takes the life of a fire department's chaplain. We'll show you how he's being remembered on WKYT News at 5:30.
Iceland's prime minister resigned today as part of the fallout from the so-called Panama Papers. The documents reveal how the rich and powerful are hiding cash in offshore accounts. Iceland's prime minister is one of a dozen current or former heads of state allegedly using the accounts to avoid paying taxes. Iceland's opposition lawmakers say his offshore holdings amounted to a major conflict of interest with his job. A Republican senator is pushing for the Senate to move ahead with the Supreme Court nominee Merrick Garland's confirmation. Senator Susan Collins made the comments after meeting with Garland this afternoon. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said the Senate will not act on a Supreme Court nomination until after a new president takes office. Senator Collins says the Senate Judiciary Committee should have a chance to hear from Garland.
The meeting left me more convinced than ever that the process should proceed.
Senator Collins is the second Republican to meet with Garland. The Supreme Court seat has been vacant since the death of Justice Antonin Scalia in February.
A furry veteran is receiving recognition for her sacrifice on the battlefield. Luca, a 12-year-old German Shepherd, received the United Kingdom's highest medal for valor. She sniffed out enemy weapons and explosives in order to protect U.S. and British forces. Luca served on 400 missions, and not a single Allied service member died on her watch.
We treat these dogs just like a fellow Marine, and so it really is a team effort when you're out there.
Luca lost one of her legs when a hidden bomb went off in 2012. She is the first U.S. Marine dog to receive the award. She's now retired and lives with a Marine as part of his family. An orphaned cheetah is moving to the Cincinnati Zoo. The male cub was born at a wild animal park in Oregon, and as his mother cannot care for him, he will join a litter of cheetah cubs born at the zoo last month. He hasn't met his new siblings yet because they're still receiving medical care for being born prematurely. We're tracking the investigation into a helicopter crash that killed 5 tourists. What federal investigators are saying coming up on WKYT News at 5:30.
Why leaving a little dirt on your dishes can help get them cleaner, and eating healthy at the ballpark. The story's next in Better Living.
Have something that needs investment.
Never been easier. Call 1-800-ASPEN Dental.
It is time now for Better Living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. If you are getting married, you might hear the cha-ching of the cash register instead of wedding bells. According to a new survey by TheKnot.com, the average cost of a wedding rose to more than $32,000 last year. That is up $5,000 since 2010. The most expensive part of a wedding is still the reception venue at nearly $15,000. Washing dishes can be a hated chore, especially after a large meal, but there's a little secret to make the job easier and get your plates cleaner. Mary Maloney shows us why you might want to leave a little grime on your plate.
For many, this is typical. Rinsing off a dish before you put it in the dishwasher. But testers for Consumer Reports say you don't need to pre-rinse to get your dishes clean.
It's actually a waste of water to rinse your dishes. And if you're using hot water, it's a waste of energy, too.
Pre-rinsing can even make your dishes dirtier. According to Consumer Reports, most dishwashers sold in the past 5 years that cost $500 or more have a sensor to determine how hard the dishwasher needs to work. In the beginning of the wash, it rinses the dishes and then checks how dirty the water is. If you manually washed off most of the muck, the sensor's thrown off and thinks your dishes are already pretty clean. So instead of fully washing that dish, you only get a light wash. Consumer Reports says detergent and a rinse agent can wash off stubborn food.
We get our dishes dirty with some of the toughest food out there, like oatmeal, egg yolk, peanut butter, and tomato sauce.
Loading is also key. Make sure your plates have the dirty side facing the center. Use your silverware basket to separate utensils. And read the instructions.
I know it's a bore, but you really need to read the instruction manual for your dishwasher. You need to follow the guidelines for loading that machine so that you get the cleanest dishes possible.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
Heading to the ballpark is a favorite spring pastime for many people, but catching a game doesn't have to wreck your healthy eating plans. Dietitians suggest avoiding foods delivered right to your seat as they tend to be the least healthy. You can also look for smaller portion foods or things that take longer to eat, like peanuts. Another tip, keep an eye on what you're drinking.
Alcoholic beverages and sodas do contribute to calories. So I tell people that are going to the ballpark the same thing I tell my patients. Watch what kind of calories you're actually drinking. They are the emptiest kind possible. They don't fill you up, and you can lose track of them.
You can also check the ballpark's policy on bringing in your own snacks and beverages. Some stadiums allow you to bring in water and small food items. Now, here's what's coming up for you at 5:30.
Firefighters across Clay County are supporting their firefighter family in Manchester after their chaplain was killed in an accident.
The investigation continues into what caused a tourist helicopter to crash in the Smoky Mountains yesterday, killing 5 people.
A spring break vacation turned tragic for an Oldham County family after a teen was killed in an accident in Georgia.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good afternoon. The chaplain for the Manchester Fire Department and Hacker Fire Department in Clay County has died. The Jackson County coroner says that Cecil Jones was killed during an accident while working on landscaping with a friend.
Sean Moody talked to some of the men who worked with him. He has more on how he's being remembered today. It's our top story at 5:30.
Cecil Jones was helping a friend out when the accident happened. People who worked here at the Manchester Fire Department with him said that was something he was doing all the time. That flag there at half-staff isn't something anyone ever wants to see.
Heartbroken to hear something like that.
Especially when the person you're honoring is one of your own.
Actually, there's a lot of times when he's had my back.
Cecil Jones had been a firefighter and chaplain here in Manchester for years.
He knew everything that really needed to be known.
And people who knew him said you could always count on him to help. That's what he was doing yesterday. The Jackson County Sheriff said he was helping a friend with some tree trimming when the truck they were using started rolling back. No one could stop it before it hit Jones.
I've lost a great person, and he's gone, but he won't be forgotten, you know.
Manchester Mayor James Ed Garrison used to be in the department with Jones.
Not too many actually called him Cecil. What are you doing, preacher? You know.
Garrison said firefighters from other departments are helping out while the Manchester firefighters take a couple of days to deal with things. Matt Eversole is one of the younger firefighters here, and he said Jones really lived up to that preacher nickname.
You could always go to him and he'd have just the right words to say, and he'd always be that person that would ask about your family and stuff like that. He was really caring.
The mayor said those firefighters from other departments would be helping out for a few days. In Clay County, Sean Moody, WKYT.
The Manchester mayor said Jones helped with other departments as well. Federal investigators are working to determine what caused a tour helicopter to crash in the Smoky Mountains, killing 5 people.
The crash happened yesterday afternoon between Sevierville and Pigeon Forge, 2 major tourist draws in East Tennessee. Jennifer Palumbo's following the investigation from the live desk and has some new information. Jennifer?
That's right, Sam. We've just learned the victims include a family of 4 with ties to North Carolina and Nebraska. Just about 2 hours ago, National Transportation Safety Board officials had a news conference. They warn it could take a year before they issue a final report on what happened. They did confirm this is the chopper that crashed. The chopper was built in 1977. It was owned by Smoky Mountain Helicopters and was on a 12-minute sightseeing flight. This is a time lapse that shows how the chopper came down the side of a mountain and crashed at the foot of it. It was then destroyed by fire, making the investigation even tougher. This all happened less than a mile from a large outlet mall in Sevierville and adjacent to a neighborhood.
You know, fire destroys and it consumes, so that's going to limit what some of the components. It's going to destroy components. It's going to conceal, in some cases, destroy evidence, and it's just part of the process. And we'll do our best we can to try to identify what we can, and then separate what might be something that is resulting of a fire or something that occurred prior to a fire.
Investigators will be talking to witnesses. One man said he heard an explosion and ran outside to find the helicopter had crashed. He then saw a second explosion. So far, the pilot's name has not been released. We've also learned the victims, a 22-year-old man and his 18-year-old sister, were visiting their mom and stepdad and were on vacation in Pigeon Forge. At the live desk, Jennifer Palumbo, WKYT.
Jennifer, thank you. The NTSB says several other aircraft were flying in that area at the time. There are unconfirmed reports that indicate the pilot did not make any distress calls before the crash. A little bit of everything in the forecast this week, from sunny and warm to cold, and even the chance for some snowflakes out there. But what's on the menu for today? Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey serving it up right now. What do you have for us,
Yes,
buddy?
we are. Got a little buffet of weather coming up over the next couple of days, but in the short term, it looks good until you step outside and then you realize, you know what, it feels more like February as opposed to April. 40s into parts of the area right now. Lexington 47, 45 Covington. Hey, Jackson, 50 degrees. Congrats. 51 into London. You're one of the warmer spots of the entire state this afternoon. Most areas, though, big blue sky on top of us. Looks good until you get outside with a gusty wind that's going to kick up this evening. Boy, it's going to chill down very, very quickly. Readings into the 40s, Defender Radar Network, nothing out there locally. Let's jump back to the west of us, shall we? Mild air as close by as the Mississippi Valley. That's 60. That's normal air. That'll shoot in here tomorrow. Then you've got the wind. Then you've got a cold front. You've got some showers, thunderstorms, colder air. What to expect around here tomorrow at this time. Showers, thunderstorms on the move. Then colder air will move in. And guys, as Sam mentioned, even a taste of some winter is possible by the end of the week into the start of the upcoming weekend. When I come back in just a matter of a few minutes, we will track the entire mess into town with an hour-by-hour forecast.
We will see in just a bit. Chris, thank you. A man has been arrested in Ohio in connection to the murders of 2 people in Kentucky. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Lawrence County. Stanley Webb Jr. has been charged with 2 counts of murder. Troopers found 79-year-old Lois Garton and 52-year-old Michael Garton dead inside a home in the Blaine community. Webb is currently being held in Columbus, Ohio, until he can be brought back to Kentucky. In Madison County, police have arrested 2 men they say were stealing from vehicles. 21-year-old David Pelfrey and 21-year-old Benjamin Johnson are both charged with theft by unlawful taking. Officers were called to Hampton Way on Sunday after someone reported 2 men suspiciously looking into parked cars. Police found multiple stolen items inside a backpack the men were carrying. And in Perry County, forest fires continue to burn across the region. Officials with the Division of Forestry say they worked 21 fires in southeastern Kentucky just last night. In order to help combat the large number of fires in the area, the southeast region has 2 airplanes they use to fly over 16 counties. But officials say a majority of the fires they've seen this season have been set on purpose.
The Red Cross is helping a woman whose home was damaged in a late-night fire. The fire started about 11:30 on Forest Hill Drive in Richmond. Firefighters say the woman who lives there was at work at the time. The roof of the house has a lot of damage, but firefighters do not think the home is a total loss. It was supposed to be a fun family vacation. An Oldham County family was on their way to Universal Studios for spring break when their 15-year-old was killed in a crash in Georgia.
Sabira Rayford has the details.
He was an incredible musician. He had a gift like I've never seen.
15-year-old Jacob Davis loved music. He was even in South Oldham High School's marching band.
He was a sweet boy. He was always very kind, very polite.
For spring break, Davis and his family planned to drive to Universal Studios, but the trip took a tragic turn.
I'm sure it was something that they had planned for and looked forward to for a long time, and then, you know, this tragedy happens, and it's a nightmare.
The family was driving through Georgia when they got in a crash. Davis died from his severe injuries.
They're a very close family, and the family unit as a whole was very kind and giving.
And that is why family friend and neighbor to the Davises, Beth Searcy, started a GoFundMe.
Thought of them having to get in a car and drive home that distance after the tragedy that they had been through it just didn't seem right.
In just about 2 hours, the GoFundMe page raised over $10,000. By Monday, $20,000 had been raised. But Jacob had one last gift, too.
His organs are going to be donated and help others to be able to have a better life.
Sabira Rayford, WKYT.
And that is a tremendous gift. As of last night, the family remains in Tallahassee.
Even though the UK Wildcats, the basketball team season, ended a couple of weeks ago, fans know Kentucky basketball really is a year-round obsession. Our good question is one we have answered before, but it still comes up a lot. Russ of Mount Sterling's asking tonight, how could U of K sell out all the local TV coverage on UK games? All people don't have the expensive cable satellite access. Russ, the best person to answer that here at WKYT is Mike Kanarak, who has helped produce live UK sports for decades. Mike says the entire landscape for UK sports changed with the beginning of the 2014 football season when all the SEC schools agreed to have the new SEC Sports Network be the exclusive provider of all SEC sporting events on television. The SEC Sports Network has ESPN manage all of the broadcast rights for any and all SEC sporting events. That means that the only games that WKYT will be able to carry are those that are produced by CBS. So with the few exceptions of the games on CBS and WKYT, all the other SEC games can only be seen on the SEC network or one of the ESPN channels, all of which, of course, are pay channels on cable or satellite. Now, TBS had last night's championship game. You're seeing UK football here, which meant people without cable or satellite were unable to watch the games. Next year's tournament, some good news, semifinal and finals will be on CBS, but that will alternate between CBS and TBS on a yearly basis going forward. To submit a good question, send an email to goodquestion@wkyt.com.
I'm Bill Bryant. A key presidential primary in Wisconsin today. And in Kentucky, a state budget deal remains elusive, even though nobody likes the idea of a special legislative session. The bottom line is on the way.
I'm Victor Puente in Lee County, where a fire early this morning destroyed multiple apartments. Coming up at 6, we'll tell you about the search for 3 residents who still haven't been found.
A key presidential primary will be held in Wisconsin, and we'll get the results tonight.
And in Kentucky, a state budget deal remains unclear, even though no one likes the idea of a special legislative session. Bill Bryant has your bottom line.
Good evening. The polls close at 9 o'clock Eastern Time in Wisconsin, where voters are making choices for president that could alter the race in both parties. Voters have been lining up today to make their choices known. Republican Ted Cruz held a consistent lead in Wisconsin over national frontrunner Donald Trump in the late polling. The talk has been tough in recent days, with both Cruz and Trump saying that Ohio Governor John Kasich should get out of the race. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is hoping to cause more heartburn for Hillary Clinton. Sanders has been pushing young voters to turn out in Wisconsin, while Clinton has been putting more effort into protecting her lead in New York, which votes on April 19th. Lexington Mayor Jim Gray painting an upbeat picture of the city's finances as he proposed a new budget while also running for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate. Gray announced today the city has its 4th budget surplus in 4 years. He's proposing more money for public safety, and he wants to increase the police department size to 600 officers. Early in his Senate campaign, Gray has been pushing his management of Lexington's finances and his business experience. The clock keeps ticking toward the deadline to get a state budget passed when lawmakers come back one more time a week from today. No agreement has been announced so far. The sticking point continues to be money for higher education that Governor Bevin and Senate Republicans want to cut and Democrats vow to stop. All sides are eager to avoid a special special legislative session that would cost taxpayers $70,000 a day. And we've been reporting on the indictment on federal charges of disability attorney Eric C. Kahn today. A tweet by Bluegrass Politics this afternoon recalls that Kahn ran as a Democrat for state representative back in 1998. It was for the seat later held by Keith Hall, who is now going to prison for bribery. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
Kentucky's Attorney General says staff members will now answer calls for elderly abuse around the clock on a toll-free tip line. Previously, the tip line only took after-hours messages from callers. The messages were then retrieved by staff the next day. The tip line is also available to Kentuckians wanting to report Medicaid provider fraud.
It was a wild rescue on UK's campus this afternoon. Take a look. A great horned owl got tangled in a soccer net on the campus soccer field. Lexington Animal Control, along with UK Ground and UK Police, were able to safely detangle the bird from the net. The owl was not harmed and was released back into the wild after he was rescued and checked over.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Blue skies across the area today, mild temperatures. Oh, wait, no, it's cold out there, right? Yeah, you look outside and you think it's mild. And then you step outside and you're thinking, okay, this isn't so much like April. Although the good-looking skies across the entire area. Lexington, blue skies. It's only 47 degrees, though, and that's the warmest we've been all day. Feels like a little cooler than that, courtesy of winds that have been gusting up from time to time. Those winds, though, later tonight, tomorrow, really will begin to crank up. Temperatures across the region into the 40s, a 50 here or there showing up as the numbers slowly climb. Normals are into the 60s, though. Defender Radar Network, nothing to worry about this evening. Clear skies, big temperature drop, and then we get into the day tomorrow. Cold front number 1 will be right on top of the area. Showers, thunderstorms, and winds that may crank to 40 miles per hour. 3-day threat track. A windy day. Temperatures, though, will hit the 60s, so it's normal, at least for a few hours. Storms arrive into the afternoon and evening, then temperatures begin to drop behind that. Thursday is a chilly day. It's not going to rain all day. Upper 40s, low 50s, gusty shower. Then we go into Friday and rain and maybe a little late day snow shower. It's another day where it's not going to rain the entire time, but boy, it's windy and those colder winds will be coming from the northwest. Let's follow it all with the hour-by-hour forecast. 7 tomorrow morning. Numbers tonight may actually level off a little bit. We spike into the 60s, winds crank to 40, then some late day showers and thunderstorms will come calling. That'll carry us into tomorrow evening as well. We go through tomorrow night. Now we start to see the colder air working into the bluegrass state. Little break. So again, not all day rains on Thursday, then some showers return into the afternoon with a lot of readings stuck into the upper 40s. By 11 o'clock Thursday, we're down to 40, and as we go into that Friday morning, 30s are showing up, and it may be just cold enough for a snowflake to try to mix in during that time as well. I think a better chance for some flakes will come our way late Friday evening into early Saturday. Winds in the short term, though, are going to crank. What else is new? We typically get a lot of winds around here. This spring, though, been a little gustier than normal, especially this weekend when we had some gusts around 60 miles an hour. Not as gusty tomorrow. Still, though, we'll top 40 at times through the afternoon into the evening. And that's with that first cold front that will be right on top of the area. Another weak front arrives Thursday, yet another on Friday. Look at the temperatures this weekend. 40 for a high on Saturday. Get out of town. 21 for that low temperature. I'm not saying literally get out of town. 21 degrees, though, for that temperature on Sunday morning. Could shatter some records if we can get that cold.
I don't know. This weather makes you just want to run right out of town, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes you just want to just take off running at times. So.
All right. Well, Coach Mark Stoops talking about losing another assistant, Rob.
He lost Andy Boo yesterday, and he lost him to a coach who is a good friend. And Scal is moving on, going into the draft. What Cal had to say about the big Haitian is next in sports.
WKYT.
At one time, Scal Labissiere was rated to go as high as 1 or 2 in the NBA draft. His stock slipped at Kentucky, but this afternoon he announced he's going into the draft. Labissiere is still rated a first-round pick, even a lottery pick. The word came out in a news release in which Scal thanked his family, coaches, and teammates, and most importantly, he said, God, for the opportunity to play at Kentucky. John Calipari put out a statement saying Scal's improvement on the court put him in position to enter the draft. Cal said his future is out ahead of him, and I think in time he will be in the same breath as all of our big guys who have performed well in the NBA. UK, by the way, has another special announcement scheduled for tomorrow. Could it be Tyler Eulis? Mark Stoops pleased with the effort his team gave this morning in practice, but he said with a young team there are still things that need to be cleaned up. Yesterday, Stoops lost Andy Boo, his special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach, to Maryland. There, he will be under the Terps' new head man, DJ Durkin.
Coach, Durkin and I are good friends. He's a Youngstown guy as well, so I'll get him this summer when I see him somewhere. But yeah, he called and he said he hated to do that at this point. Nobody likes to do that, but they had a situation come up, and you have to go get the very best people you can. And Andy's a great coach, and again, we wish him the best. Bad timing, but we'll be fine.
And Stoops said that Louis Matsakis will handle special teams for the remainder of the spring. He had been special teams coordinator at Kansas. Saturday, the spring meet opens at Keeneland, and the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes and the Central Bank Ashland will highlight opening day. Now, the Ashland is for 3-year-old fillies. Last year, it was won by Lovely Maria, who went on to win the Kentucky Oaks. It'll be a field of just 5, with Catherine Sophia installed as the favorite. Trained by John Service, Catherine Sophia is unbeaten in 4 races, and she has won those 4 races by a remarkable 41.5 lengths. Karina Mia and Rachel's Valentia are expected to provide a strong challenge. Weep No More and Banry are long shots.
It'll be her first time going around 2 turns. This is obviously the best field that she's hooked into, so if she can get the job done here, then I think that'll certainly give her a lot more confidence going into the Oaks, and it'll give me a lot more too, I can tell you that.
The women's NCAA championship game is tonight in Indianapolis. UConn and Syracuse. Connecticut has won 74 straight. Coach Gino Auriemma is going for his 11th title. Coming up the next half hour, we'll talk baseball. UK U of L tomorrow night. The Legends open up the season on Thursday, and we'll also have the field for the Bluegrass Stakes, which is Saturday at Keeneland. Stay with us. Much more after the break.
Get